Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Daisy. I'm the account executive here at 79 Consulting. As the account executive, I'm the point of contact for product demos, sales, customer-facing questions, and the occasional webinar. We have an exciting topic to discuss today in bulk emailing of invoices and how this tool can help automate your dunning process. But let's go through a few things first. Throughout this webinar, we'll be walking you through a live demo in NetSuite. We'll be using a NetSuite test account, which may be slower than you're used to, so please be patient with us. We also have a chat feature where you can ask questions, and we'll be asking a few poll questions throughout this time. We'll cover some of the terminology being used today and what those definitions are. We're also going to spend some time in native configuration NetSuite, as well as go through a couple of demos in a NetSuite test account. Lastly, I'd like to share a few pieces of background information pertaining to our company, 79 Consulting. You may know us as Tirana, which is still our brand name, though primarily used outside of the US. In essence, 79 Consulting is Tirana rebranded outside of India. So don't worry if this is your first time learning about 79 Consulting. We've actually been around for well over 12 years. We were founded in 2007 as a Salesforce and NetSuite consulting firm. And in 2008, we became a NetSuite solution provider. In 2014, we created our first suite app, SkyDoc, which is a storage solution for NetSuite. We now have over 8 apps on SuiteApp.com and continue to provide support, managed services, and integration services for NetSuite and Salesforce clients. Now, let me introduce today's speaker, Rebecca Narodog. Rebecca is our NetSuite principal architect. With over 10 years of product experience on NetSuite and more on the business side, she is uniquely qualified to assist our clients with solving their most challenging business processes. Let's give a warm welcome to Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca.
Hey, Daisy. Thanks a lot. Excuse me. Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here. I'm looking forward to showing you our suite app for bulk emailing of invoices today.
Okay, now let's get started with today's content. We'll be going over how to send invoices from native NetSuite and also go through a live demo of our suite app, Bulk Email Invoices, or BEI for short, and how it could be used as a dunning tool. And now over to Rebecca.
Thanks again, Daisy. We all know that emailing invoices to your customers is a standard expectation from an ERP system. While NetSuite does provide a solution to email transactions for customers, without significant customization, it is limited to auto-emailing the transaction when the record is saved. NetSuite does allow you to manage email delivery manually at each transaction. However, this is a very labor-intensive process and is not a viable solution for most businesses. Let's review the options available for you to configure the native transaction emailing features in NetSuite. On the customer record, you can set the customer's preference to receive transactions via email under the Preference tab on the record. You can also set up a system-wide preference so each new customer will have their communication preference set to email upon creation. You can control the delivery on each transaction before the first save. This is under the Communication tab on the transaction record. If the customer is set to email, then the transaction inherits the same. On the transaction record again, and on the Communication tab again, is the email address that will be used to send the invoice to. This pulls the main email field from the customer record. You can enter additional email addresses on the transaction manually using a comma separator. Customization is required to pull in additional email addresses to this field automatically. Finally, you can assign custom email templates on the email message template field on the transaction form. The default template is used if a custom template is not defined. The default template is controlled in setup. NetSuite does not have a way to control resending of invoices without additional customization. Let's take a quick look at these basic settings in NetSuite.
Okay. And now over to Rebecca to show us some basic configuration in NetSuite.
Thanks, Daisy.
Sure thing.
So we're just going to take a quick look today on how to set up the auto emailing of transactions in NetSuite. The idea here is if you've not done this before, you'll have a quick walkthrough and the basic concepts of how to get there. So I'm looking at a client record here in my demo account. And if I scroll down and across and find my preferences tab here, and when I click on that, I can see that my send transactions via email is set to true. And this is what would ensure that all transactions created after this is set to true will auto email upon save. Also, just to verify here, this is the email address I have, and this is the primary email address on the customer record. And this field does only allow for a single email address to be contained. So now if I go to new and invoice, and I've already have one open because my demo account is very slow this morning. So let me pop over here. So now if I go down to activities and then to be emailed is set to true, and here's the email address that came over from the parent, from the customer record. And here you can see that I'm able to type in a new email address manually. This is where you could have some automation to pull in multiple email addresses into this field, but NetSuite won't do it by default. So now when this transaction is saved, as soon as it's saved, this email will be delivered to these email addresses with the PDF of this invoice, and it will use the template that's assigned on the custom form. So let's go, we would go here and customize form, and again, the magic of a demo, I already have it open. Let me put this in edit mode. So now the idea is on the transaction form, I can now control which template would be used to send invoices that are generated with that transaction form. And I should have, as we wait for NetSuite, here is the field, the email template field that we would, where we can change the email template. Thank you, NetSuite. Here we go. So email message template, this is the field down here where we can set the template for this form. It's using the default template. I'm going to show you where to define which template is the default. But as you can see now, I can pick any email template that I want. And then when I save that, all future invoices would use the new template to send the email with. And then the final thing I wanted to just show you quickly, it's a multi-layered process here, is under email preferences, which can be found under setup and company. We have a couple of options here down at the bottom under transactions. This checkbox is the one where I can say I want all customers to be created with email transactions set to true. This is the checkbox for that. And then down here at the very bottom is where I control the default email template. So here I can choose whatever template I want. One thing to be very careful about is this is the default template for all transaction types, not just invoices. So that's the core setup for sending transaction emails to customers directly from NetSuite. And just a quick note, this configuration in NetSuite will email all transactions to the customer upon save, which includes opportunities, estimates, cash refunds, cash sales, credit memos, return authorizations, as well as invoices. There's probably a few other transactions out there that I didn't remember to mention on the customer side. So if you're using any of these other transaction types and do not want them automatically emailed to the customer, you will need a custom solution to accomplish that.
And now, what is bulk email invoicing, or BEI? BEI is our suite app that gives you the ability to email invoices in bulk from one place, as well as schedule dunning emails at your desired frequency. BEI removes friction and pain from the collection process, improves customer experience, and shortens time to cash.
That's right, Daisy. What we have found after working with hundreds of NetSuite users in the most is that most businesses have requirements more complex than auto-emailing all transactions to a single email address. The BEI Suite app allows you to manage the delivery of invoices using various filters and template control, as well as automating a dunning process to improve collections. To satisfy NetSuite user requirements to easily and automatically send invoices to their customer, we built the Suite app to do the following. You will have the ability to send multiple invoices in a single email. An example of this would be a customer with 5 invoices. NetSuite will send 5 emails. We have a feature in our Suite app that allows you to send one email with 5 invoices attached instead. Users can also send an email to multiple email addresses. This is a common request in NetSuite, which requires customization. With our Suite app, we have a field that you can utilize to easily send to multiple email addresses every time you send an email. Additionally, users will have the ability to manage follow-up on open invoices. This can be done manually by reviewing open invoices, or it can be scheduled to run automatically. An often requested feature is sending a statement with an invoice in a single email. Our Suite app gives you the ability to do this as well. And finally, we can take advantage of the power of the email templates in NetSuite to control the look and feel of invoices that are sent manually and those that are scheduled.
Great, thanks, Rebecca. So bear with us while we swap screens here. So in a short moment, Rebecca will go through a live demo of bulk email invoices. So over to Rebecca whenever she's ready.
Thanks, Daisy.
Sure thing.
Great. So we're going to just jump right in here, and I wanted to show you the screen for sending new invoices or invoices that have not yet been emailed to your customers. So we have, when we log on to this page, bulk email invoices, we have some filters here that you would expect to see everywhere in NetSuite: customer, subsidiary, department, class, location. These are all of our standard segments in NetSuite, and we can use any of these filters to restrict the results from our search. We also have a from and a to date. Now, these are transaction dates, so it's saying show me any transactions where the date is within these 2 dates. I have a due date as well, so I could also say only show me transactions that have a due date on or before January 1, or whatever my goal might be. Now, these filters all stack on each other, so everywhere that we have a value set, then we must meet all of the criteria. It's what you would expect to see in a NetSuite. So let me run pull up a couple of invoices here. So I'm going to fill in my filters for what I want to see, and I'm going to select search. And then down below, here are the invoices that I have that have not yet received an email through the bulk email invoice Suite app. And I can select or unselect the invoices I want to send. I can see the invoice number, the customer name. I can see the open amount as well as the amount due. And then the status of the invoice as well. So over here for the email addresses, in this field, I could type in an additional email. Let's just say I want to send them to Daisy. I can type Daisy at. And this is a one-time add of this email. This does not update the transaction or the customer record. It would just send it to Daisy this one time. So if I go back up here, I have a couple of different things I can do with this tool. We built it to be more than just the ability to send emails to newly invoiced customers. I could also say, show me credit memos. So if I had open credit memos I wanted to email as well, I could do that here. I could say, show me only those invoices that have already received an email and that are still open with these date ranges. Let's see if I have any results in that. So now I can see these are the invoices that I have that are open and that I have already emailed. So the nice thing about this is I could see what has run. If I wasn't seeing what I expected to see in my original search. I could say, okay, has somebody already run my email? And now I could kind of see what's going on. And then finally, we've given you the ability to exclude invoices. Sometimes we have a customer that we don't want them to get they don't want invoices, and we can exclude them at the customer level, but we could also exclude individual invoices. So now I could say, show me excluded invoices. Let me see if I have any results in this time frame. And the idea here is I could mark them. I do. I have one. I could mark this as an excluded invoice, and now it's never going to receive an email from the BEI tool. Let me go back here 1 second. If in my search, I see invoices that I don't want to send, and I know I never want to send, I could come down here and unmark all and select my single invoice that I want to exclude. And I can take an action here in my action section, and I can say exclude the selected invoices. And now I can process that, and we'll give that just a second. And that's going to mark that single transaction to be excluded from the bulk emailing invoice tool. And that includes the dunning follow-up piece that's scheduled and automated that I'm going to show you in just a second. So now I can say, don't ever send this. Maybe the invoice is in dispute. Maybe we're working on cleaning up something. We all know that there's those customers we have to deal with. So now that invoice will never auto send. And as you can see, it's been removed from my list. So now we're back to just emailing our invoices. I've got my date range here. I'm showing only open invoices. In my action section, I can pick what template I want to use. And I have a bunch in here. So let me find one that looks kind of salesy. Invoice email template. And I have all of these are one customer. Test account, don't beat me up. One customer. So I've got 4 invoices for one customer. So right here is a checkbox where I can say send all of the invoices in one email. I can also include a customer statement with only open transactions, or I can include a standard customer statement. So I'm going to go ahead and process this. We're going to go look at a couple of other things while this is running. So let me change my role here just quickly. So here's my customer record. And as you can see, I have my RLN email address in my header. And then here on the communication tab in the bulk email addresses field is where I can add my additional email addresses that I want to send invoices to. So this is a go forward setting. So if I came and populated this after invoices would created, it wouldn't pick it up. So we would want to make sure that we set these all before we create invoices. And what the tool does is it picks up the primary email address as well as the addresses that are listed here. We do have a limitation of 10 addresses between the two fields, so 1 here and 9 below. And that's a NetSuite limitation on how many addresses we can put in a single email. And then I had mentioned that if we had a customer that we wanted to always exclude from the tool, we could mark this here on the customer record, and then that flows through to the invoice as well. So it looks like our bulk processing might be done. Let me refresh this customer record really quick. And on the communication tab, under messages, I can see the invoice that I sent today. I can see who it was sent to, and I can see my 5 attachments. I have 4 invoices here as well as my statement. So this is a really nice tool. I can see what was sent and where it was sent, and off we go. So the final thing I wanted to walk you guys through today is the setup of the automated dunning piece. So under setup, when you have the Suite app installed, we can get to this BEI automation configuration page. So this would be my auto follow-up. We have an option of sending an initial reminder on or near the due date. I can say, in my world, I want to send a reminder to my client 5 days before the due date, and then a second reminder 7 days after the due date. So this just gives me the ability to send nice, friendly reminders that they have an invoice coming due, and I can set set my template here for what I want to do. Again, so many templates in my demo account here. We'll just pick something. I can choose my email template. This template is used for both reminders, before and after. And then I also can choose, do I want to exclude partially paid invoices? If this checkbox is true and we've received a partial payment, then no reminder email will be sent. We can use the BEI tool with consolidated invoices. This would be the suite solution put out by NetSuite for consolidated invoices. If you are using Suite Solutions and you'd like to see how the BEI tool works with that, please reach out and we'll walk you through that. But for today, I'm going to skip that. So now here's my dunning, my big follow-up piece. I have four dunnings that can go out according to a schedule that I define, and templates that I define. So right now I can choose what frequency I want. I'm going to choose monthly. You can see that my templates are set up to be monthly type reminders. So this would be after the due date. Do I want to send it daily, weekly, monthly, or quarterly? And I'm going to send it quarterly. And I've, again, 4 levels. So now this is an automated script that's going to run every day and look at your open invoices and decide if they fall into any of these automation levels. I also have the ability to set a threshold amount. So this would be, let's say that I have, my average invoice is $1,000, and I don't want to send anything that's less than $500. We've decided in our business that if an invoice is less than $500, we're probably working on something, whether it's disputed or waiting on a return off or something like that. So we're not going to send those out. And then I can also say, include a customer statement. I can include a standard customer statement, or I can include only the open transactions. And then I can define the statement, month, 2 months, or last quarter. So that's how I would go about setting that up. And then I would submit this, and now my dunning process is all set up and ready to go, and it will run every day. So Daisy, I think that gets us through the core setup of bulk emailing Invoices with Suite App. I'm sure there's more functionality in here, and I'm sure there's questions. But first, that's the bulk of it.
And that concludes today's webinar. I'd like to give a big thank you to Rebecca for walking us through native NetSuite and demoing BEI. And finally, to wrap up our session, I want to touch briefly on our Suite App quality assurance. NetSuite has 2 version upgrades every year, during which you can reach out to us to request new features for your Tirana Suite app. If we receive, If we receive enough requests, we incorporate these features into our product roadmap. We also conduct pre-release testing for all our Suite apps and provide you with a release preview account to test your new features. So please don't hesitate to contact us if you have any feature requests. And I'll leave you with our contact information. Should you have any questions, please remember that we have team members all over the world to help facilitate your needs. Thank you again, and goodbye for now.